Hello, everyone. We are your landlords, flooding out and tapping out so that you don't have to, with the occasional screw. My name is Hamhocks42, and I'm joined by the one and only Astralsflame. Astrals, how you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good, bud. It's a nice Saturday, relaxing day, slightly busy, but I couldn't be happier because it's a magic day and an
Oh, yeah.
exciting day it is. Ham, look at the calendar. Is this the Arena Championship day or is my non existent watch on my arm wrong?
My non-existent watch is agreeing that it is in fact the Arena Championship Day. Why my fantastic non-existent watch is giving me the exact day in my calendar? Although actually that is just the thing watches do now. But anyway,
Right?
yeah, I haven't actually worn a watch in a long time.
I
But
haven't either.
regardless, yeah, the last one I had to wind. Anyway, here we are. It is, in fact, the Arena Championship Day. And yeah, we were going to be talking about that a little bit. It's actually, as we're recording this, the games are going on right now. So if you tuned into this podcast to get our reactions about who won, we think it was cool and we're glad that they succeeded. But yeah, we don't know at this point. So yeah.
I am so jazzed that they tapped that land. Did you see that, Ham? What a play!
Dude, and that play in the finals, oh my goodness, it was
Right?
incredible.
It's crazy. We're seeing in the future here. Look, they tapped the land again. What the crap?
No way! They used mana to cast spells and that won them the game.
And it
Crazy.
resolved.
Yes! I love when spells resolve. It's my favorite.
Right? Well, that's a recap of the Arena Championships. So let
Yeah,
us know
thanks
in
for
the comments
tuning
down
in.
below.
We're good. Oh, good stuff. But yeah, so that's the one listing that we really want to touch on today is the Arena Championship. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about competitive Magic in general, how it aligns with Arena, which is definitely kind of an interesting dynamic, and it's changed a lot over the last couple of years. So let's kind of take a minute and just kind of get a pulse for where competitive Magic is, especially as it relates to Arena today. And if there are any other details that you want to toss in there, Astros, please. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I like
yeah.
I think that's a great point to part. I mean, there especially with how competitive Magic has evolved. So, for those that may not be aware, the current structure right now in Arena is a three-tier system. You've got what we call the play-ins, the qualifier weekends. The qualifier weekends can get you up to the PTQ play-in events or up to the Arena Championships. And Arena Championships sits at the top, that's tier 3. PTQs, that's in around tier 2. And tier 1 is that first off play-in. What is a play-in though? For lack of a better word, literally, it's the qualifier of the qualifier. As a lot of the community really do it, because
hmm
to play in the qualifier, you have to play in a qualifier to qualify for the qualifiers that will then qualify you for the other qualifier that gets you in for the other qualifier.
Qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so there are these. You've probably seen the announcements, the qualifier play-in events, and those are usually like weekend tournaments or that are run on the Arena client. You need to earn a right to participate in those tournaments. Those aren't just first come first serve. Open door. Everybody take your shot at the big time. You need to qualify for those. And if I'm not mistaken, that's what the play-in points that you can earn in the Arena, through events and whatnot. That's what those are for. Those are basically
Yep.
your tickets into the qualifier play-ins. And then from there, they whittle the field down to the people who make it into the next level, the next tier
Yep.
of competition. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a lot going on, and it's
It's a lot.
it's intense, to be honest. Yeah,
It
and so the people that
sounds.
are playing, yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say it sounds confusing though, because like everything's a qualifier, but
Yes.
going on there, but there is a pathway to there.
hmm Yes, and that's ultimately kind of the critical point here. Is even if we don't understand the roadmap, and I'll be honest, like to be completely candid, I do struggle with understanding exactly how to get from one step to the next. However, I now am confident, which this hasn't been true over the last couple of years, to be fair. I am now confident that there is a way, if I put in the work and I grind, that I could make it to the Arena Championship or onto the Pro Tour or ultimately to the World Championship. The opportunity to maybe be on that stage amidst that level of talent. That is possible. That's an aspirational goal that a lot of people have. And there is a roadmap to get you there. It is possible. And I know a lot of people who are grinding that path right now and are making some very real strides.
Mhm.
And it's really cool to watch. So it's neat that exists, because a couple of years ago, we had the Mythic Invitationals. and then we ultimately had the MPL, the Magic Pro League, and it was this very very limited group of Magic pros. And then there was also the Rivals League below that, which was kind of like the minors theoretically, but it was also an incredibly restricted group. And it was people who were, ultimately, I think they had to stream as part of their, MPL contracts.
Yeah.
And so they're making content, but as a result, they were full-time Magic players, like full-time competitive Magic players, in an attempt to make kind of an esports league out of Magic, which was, I suppose, a worthy attempt. But what they lost by moving to that structure away from the old Pro Tour structure was that aspirational path. Because if I'm an arena grinder who's sitting in my house and I want to somehow make it to the pro leagues, what do I have to do?
What's the path? How to get there?
It wasn't clear.
No.
But now in the arena client, there is this path, and we're seeing people this weekend participating in the arena championship. This is a 3 times a year event. So every 4 months there will be an arena championship. This is the second one they've done. And, if you make it to the arena championship and you perform well, you can make it onto the Pro Tour or into the World Championship.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Cool.
Like,
yeah,
just by simply enjoying in and jamming in events and gathering in points, it does sound confusing when you talk about qualifier of the qualifier of the qualifier. But when you look at the structure, it is a lot more clear than what it used to be. Like, you do the playing events. If you win at your playing event, you will then be able to do the qualifier weekend. Your qualifier weekend, that's a 2-day event. If you place on day 1, you get to play day 2. If you finish your run on day 2 well enough, that gets you into the Pro Tour. And in addition, qualifiers can also get you in for the Arena Championship, which is the 32 players chosen at best over the course of the last 4 months. And if you place in first or second in the Arena Championships, that can get you into the World Championships. So you can do like PTQ championships and the World Championships. Like, that's very exciting for someone who may just be picking up Magic cards for the first time. Maybe they have a competitive backstory in another card game. Maybe they're fresh. It's new, but that aspiration, that pathway now exists and it's clear and accessible. It's quite literally very accessible in the digital environment. Because imagine if you had to do this in paper, right? Like playing standard or other formats in paper can be costly. Not all of us have that, but Arena provides an accessible and to a good extent affordable way to jam that in.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's really cool, and I'm glad this path exists. I think that was like the biggest thing that Wizards and the Magic community lost when they went to the MPL structure. I don't know what it took to get into the Rivals League. Like, I know there was I understand there was some kind of system in place, but honestly, I didn't know that. As far as I knew, the system was have 1 million Twitter followers and send somebody at WotC an email. Like, I'm being a little flippant, but let's say I didn't know that wasn't part of it. Like, it was just so obscure. And well, fortunately, that's in the past now, and we have this where it is your performance that gets you there. And I love the fact that, to your point, Arena is a free-to-play game. Is it free to have a fully stocked collection? Well, you're going to have to spend either money or time to get that. So it's not, it's not exactly fair to say, there's no entry cost. I think that's a little, I don't know if that's accurate, but it is easier.
Yes.
Because, I mean, a standard deck, in the past, competitive standard decks would be $200-300. I think they're even higher now.
Yeah, even higher now with the price of everything.
Yeah, so if you're going to be jamming, so if that's part of the cost of participating. And then once rotation happens and the deck's not competitive anymore, the value of those individual cards drops significantly. And so all of a sudden, a deck that you spent $400 on because it was the best deck at the time, if you try to sell it for parts to other people who might be interested in maybe older formats or maybe Commander, you'd be lucky to get $100 back.
Yeah.
Out of that. And so it's, that was part of the cost of participating in competitive standard. It was just part of the deal. But now with Arena, a lot of that cost is mitigated because you can get a whole standard collection for the price of one standard deck,
Yeah.
over in the past. And that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So that said, though, the arena championship that's going on today is actually historic, which I think
Yes.
is an interesting choice for formats. There are two different formats being played. There's historic, and then there's also going to be a Phyrexia All-in-One draft portion. Yeah, I'm not sure as of this recording. I'm not sure exactly where they are in the day. We may be through the draft already, but
Yeah, I
that
think they're
yeah.
just about done the draft at last I checked
hmm
in. Round 1 or round 2 had been completed, so we're
Okay.
almost halfway through the first bit at time of recording here.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I love the idea of draft being a critical part of the competitive scene. That's something that, you know, it's come and gone over the years. Like every now and then we see events. Oh, speaking of, also, in amidst all of this, we've been talking about the Arena Championship and the qualifier plans and all these things. We did not mention the Arena Opens. I just want to make
Ah,
a quick
yeah.
aside. If you're curious, and if you're curious, what the heck, how does that tie into this? The answer to that is it actually doesn't.
Yeah, it's
The
separate.
arena, yeah, it's completely separate. The arena opens have a gem buy-in or cash buy-in, and then there's an independent prize pool for that event. So being, and there's also not like a top 32, elimination bracket. You either get the wins and you get the prize, or you don't. So there can be, a ton of winners of the arena opens who get the $2,000 prize payout. Great. But that doesn't tie into this structure at all. So if you want to just if you don't have the time to grind all your way, your way into a potential world championship spot, but you still want to scratch the competitive itch, some weekends you can do the arena champion or the arena opens rather, and take a couple shots at that, and maybe
Yeah.
make some money while you're there, and
Yeah.
have a fun day or two. So
Make it like a cool, easy grand or 2 grand on day 2, 6, 7
mhm.
wins.
Yeah, that's all it
Just
takes. That's what
yeah,
we do.
it's
And
easy.
yeah, and the reason that I mentioned that is a lot of the arena opens of late have been sealed or draft, which is pretty fun. So
Yeah.
that's a neat. Yeah, the fact that limited play is now. I love the fact that the arena client is in a position where it can handle limited play on a competitive level. I
Yes.
think that's really cool.
It
So
is, 'cause that's
I'm
a
glad
whole
that
other
that's
player
happening.
base, right? Like
Oh,
bringing
100%.
bringing the exposure to that player base and letting it in and fulfilling that competitive itch is really sweet, especially because like not all of us play every format, and it's a nice exposure to something like that format where you might not gym it on a weekly or daily basis
Oh yeah.
or
Well,
hourly
that
basis.
or hourly basis, exactly. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I got a game open on the side right here. No, I'm
Oh,
kidding. But yeah, we've all been. I don't know about you, but I've been in those Discord calls where somebody who's just I've been having a conversation with somebody, and then I'll find out that they're
playing
actually
arena,
in
yeah,
game 3 on the ladder. Like, what are you?
that's me. The odd time I'll be talking with a friend, it'll be like, "Oh, hey, I just got. Oh yeah, are you playing arena?"
Oh, sick. Wait, are you
No,
playing a
no,
game right
I'm
now?
not.
Ah,
No.
oh no, no, my attention is all yours, my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm paying totally paying attention. Not
Yeah. Freaking, of course they had the counter spell. I mean,
damn it.
yeah, no, what were you saying? Yeah, no. So, yeah, we've all been there, right? It's all good. Well, and Magic is a game that is very easy to do on the side, so it happens. Well, it's easy to play on the side. It may be difficult to win on the side if
Yes.
you depending on how you're splitting your attention. But yeah, so the arena opens separate from the arena championships and the Pro Tour path. But I love the fact that this path exists. That's so important. And also to your point about the player base. The truth of the matter is the player base is very fractured. Anybody who's made content, I mean, you and I both are very much intimately aware of that whole space. You kind of have to, not necessarily, but for the most part, you have to kind of pick. Like, okay, am I a commander player? Am I
Yeah.
a standard player? Am I a historic player? Am I a drafter? Am I, like, it's kind of shocking how the audiences vary from
Extremely.
format to format. Because people who really enjoy draft on Arena may not care at all about Commander,
Yeah.
because they're just such different gameplay experiences, and so there's some crossover, and I know I dabble in a little bit of everything, and Astros, I know you're very much the same way, where you
Here's
kind
to
of
try.
touch a lot of different things, and it's fun, but for the most part, the people who are heavily invested in one don't necessarily cross over to the others,
Yeah.
and it's funny too. Like when I hop onto somebody's stream for the very first time, especially if I don't know them, I can tell right away just based on their interface whether or not they primarily play draft.
Yep.
If they have the little the vault icon in the top right corner and hundreds of thousands of gems, Oh, they're a drafter. Like, because
Yeah.
those are the rewards you get for drafting. Meanwhile, they probably have a whole bunch. Like their collection is probably completely full, and they just don't have any constructed decks because maybe that's not their jam. You know? Yeah, and it's
It
interesting to see. But
it
being able to
is.
capture both of those audience with this with these championships, I think is really important.
Oh, 100%. And I love the fact you brought up about the audiences because the pathway to get there is functionally the same for both. So, like, if you are a competitive drafter, you are able to get your play-in points to get in for a qualifier play-in. You can get to Mythic, top 250 or some of the other conditions and get a play-in invite. So, like, there are Magic is touching on all the different aspects of their game and finally making the pathway available to all audiences of the two types of constructed and limited to come together to reach for the best. And I love that they're doing that because it's not just like, oh, you need to play only constructed and get to the top, or you have to only draft and get to the top. Like they are showing it takes a balance of a player to knowing both and performing in both to really get to the top. And I mean, like you can be a great constructed player and a semi okay limited player, or a great limited player and semi constructed, and still just combine your skills together and push to the top. Like the pathway for both is there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, and you see that. We see players at the top. We see the pros where people have like reputations as being a primarily a drafter versus
Mm.
primarily a constructed player, and the skill sets are so drastically different. And 9 times out of 10, at that high level, people who are well balanced in both are the ones who kind of ends up rising to the top, whether they have a specialty in one or the other. That said, there are exceptions to that rule,
Yes,
and
that's fair.
I would be remiss if I did not point out the World Championship 2 years ago, not the most recent one, where that Nathan Sawyer took down. Although that was
Right.
awesome, to be fair.
Yeah.
But prior to that, the World Championship where Yuta Takahashi won, he 0-3'd the draft portion.
Yeah.
So the pathway from that point to get to the finals and ultimately win it, sorry, was that was an uphill battle the entire time.
Extremely.
Which is
Yeah.
why, yeah, there's a clip of him qualifying, I think for the finals, I think was what it was, where he just leaned back and yelled "Yata," which is like hooray in Japanese, and it was like this moment, like the excitement was so real because it was so hard for him to get there after ultimately falling flat in the draft portion. Not that he's a bad drafter, it just didn't work for him that day,
Yeah.
And so, but he ultimately made it, and we have Fairy Mastermind coming in March of the Machine that has his freaking face on it. So,
Right.
like, I mean, he did pretty well for himself. But that it is possible to excel in one and lean on it, but for the most part, like that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like good to have a balance of both, but like if you are to that skill level and very proficient in one format, like you can make up for deficiencies or unfamiliarities of another format. Absolutely. And even still, again, that just shows like ability to play at the different levels and the different ways it can go in. Like it's an exciting time to be a Magic player, honestly. Like again, the path may not be the clearest, but the fact is the path is there. I just wish it wasn't
Mhm.
always labeled as the qualifier of the qualifier of the qualifier.
Yeah, it's funny. I've noticed that Wizards will fall into like ruts, like a broken record for all you Zoomers out there who totally understand what final records are. There's this like rut that they seem to fall into with their vocabulary, where like for a minute there, everything was mythic. Everything was the mythic edition, or the
Right.
mythic qualifier, or the mythic championship, or the mythic this, mythic that. Um, and then I even noticed it in some of their names, like some of the card names. Like,
Yeah.
have you noticed that a lot of the creatures these days have been brazen?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Or
Like,
there's
or
canopy. A lot of the sets we've had this canopy. That's
yes, canopy. A lot of stuff is happening in canopies. Yeah,
like, what's the deal? Why does every
yeah,
plane have issues with canopies? Why are some of them carnivorous? Why are some of them like? Oh, obviously they're treetop, but I get that. But like, what's the deal? Why canopies? Can we have the
yeah. There's a lot of
canopy
action happening.
championship?
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. The mythic canopy. The brazen canopy. That's happening for
Brazen
sure. What
canopy.
else? Also, aspirants.
Yes, that's a
I
big one too.
I firmly believe, I have no doubt in my mind that within the next year, a card will be printed or at least spoiled named Brazen Aspirant.
Aspirants.
That is going to happen. I promise. Just watch. Anyway. Anyway, sorry. That's so much for another time. And so as a result, like right now, qualifier. There's a qualifier play in the qualifier weekend, the Pro Tour qualifier. Like that word seems to be like what they've just locked onto. And like I get it, but at the same time, I feel like the labeling might be maybe if they had even just calling it tier 1, tier 2, or something of that nature would be fine. You know, or maybe you can do some kind of, well, I don't know, some kind of play on like the rarities of cards. I don't know. I mean, if Mythic's going to be the top, why can't you start at common? I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe
or call it aspirant.
Maybe that's a little silly, but
the
I
aspirants qualifier.
The aspirants qualifier. Actually, that would kind of make sense. You're aspiring to get in, so yeah, this is the the aspirant play-in for the qualifier weekend. I mean, hey, Wizards, just saying.
If just hire us.
Need some help to kind of punch this up. We got you.
Yeah, we're pretty affordable. We're not gonna lie. Like, you know, DM us our rates. You know, landlordsmtg@gmail.com. That's our email. Drop us a line. Our people will talk to your people, and we're our people, so we'll talk to you.
Yeah, we are our people. Yes, yeah. After we work with you, we can hire people. Until then,
that's it.
We are our people. Anyway, but yeah. So no, this is cool, and it's neat to see the Arena Championship going on. I'm definitely curious to see how it's going to play out over the course of the weekend. Like we're recording this on Saturday, like kind of like we've discussed. So you know, we'll see how it plays out. I'm very, very intrigued. And I gotta say, the Pro Tour being back and the World Championship being these big events. It's exciting. I mean, we're getting back to a point of competitive Magic being exciting again. Like, I feel like the league weekends with the MPL, I keep bringing up the MPL because that was kind of when I don't have a history and a background in competitive Magic. I know a lot of people kind of in my position do. I don't. I'm not going to claim I do. But I find it interesting, and I do want to know more about it because I always thought Magic was just... Magic for me has always been a fun casual game.
Yep.
But I always knew that there was this pro element and the idea of, you know, maybe someday, you know, something for me to aspire to. So that was always kind of neat. I like that it was there, even though I never really took a shot at it. And the fact that we're back to that is really cool. Whereas, like, I remember the league weekends with the MPL. Like, Twitter that Monday, it felt like it was just league members complaining about how frustrating the weekend was for them. Because they had to stream on a delay, and it was just like, you know, 12 to 20 hours of Magic for like no clear prize. You know, it was kind of like, why am I doing this? Like, apparently it was very frustrating for them. It was this really repetitive, frustrating grind. And really all it was kind of, the goal of it was for it to be a spectacle so that, you know, the rest of us could watch these like excellent players play Magic at the highest levels week in, week out. And that was ultimately their job, and they were getting a salary. But it seemed like that was just a recipe for burnout, and it just didn't quite. I don't know. The vibe, the energy.
It was off-putting.
Just wasn't the same. Yeah, it was kind of. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't exciting.
No, but
meanwhile, with these tournaments, knowing that everybody worked hard to get there, everybody earned these spots. And they got something to shoot for, and they're gonna make the most of it. They're gonna shoot their shot. They're gonna really go for it. It's really exciting to watch in a way that the former model just wasn't. And I think, I mean, I don't know all the numbers offhand, but I would be shocked if viewership doesn't reflect that.
Viewership right now has been staying above 5K for the most part today. I think it hit up to 6 for a bit. But day 2, like, remember, this is day 1. So this is 5,000 people right now. As of this moment, 5,148 people in Twitch watching day 1. That's day 1. Day 2, I would not be surprised if that doubles or higher. And I think these numbers have been going up over the last few months because I think we can both see, as we've seen in the last while, Magic's gained more and more popularity again. There's more and more interest, more people back, more talk in formats, and more pushes in competitive. So the competitive nature of how Magic is shifting with Arena Championships, I think this is just going to go more and more and more. And hopefully we see more names in these competitive events, more new names, more people fresh on the plate, you know, coming in and new stuff. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think we have that. Like, I mean, there some of the folks we've seen before. You know, it's like You've got your Javier Dominguez, your LSVs. You've got
Yep.
Reed Duke just recently took down a pro tour. His first actual pro tour win, which is kind of wild because he's been in the scene for so long. These are names that we know. So many of these people are already Hall of Famers, and that's great. But like our reigning world champion Nathan Stoyer, going into that tournament, I hadn't heard that name before. Dude took down the whole thing, that was incredible. Well, and Reed Duke, the person that Reed Duke beat across the table was Benton Madsen. That was another name that was new to me going into that tournament. I'm not saying he hasn't been around, but at the same time, like, my understanding is he's kind of this younger generation of people who's really stepped up and is, proving themselves as an excellent player amongst kind of these seasoned veterans, and it's really cool to see. And I'm right there with you. I hope we see a lot more new names get out there. And if you, dear listener, have an aspiration to, to do that, well, grind on the ladder, get into one of these play-in qualifiers, and
become a qualifier aspirant.
Yes, exactly. Yes, all you qualifier aspirants out there,
or a brazen qualifier.
Yes.
What are the two?
Yes. Love it.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so we've been a little all over the place, but I feel like we've kind of touched on the main points. So yeah, Astros, was there anything else you wanted to add before we sign off for the day?
No, I think that's kind of it. Like, really, there's a path. It exists. It's a lot of qualifiers, but there is a path. You can do it. And maybe we'll hear your name, dear listener, coming up in World Championships next year. If that is the case, not to say you have to name drop us at the World Championship or anything, but like, send us a comment, be like, hey, I too am World Championship qualifier aspirant and listen to Landlords, and we'd love to hear from you. Qualifier aspirant or brazen qualifier, whichever one you are. Let us know in the comments. Are you a brazen qualifier or are you a qualifying aspirant? I don't actually know where I guess I'd be a qualifying aspirant. I don't know. Him, what would you be? Are you a brazen qualifier or a qualifying aspirant?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm a full-on brazen aspirant. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Or as many Twitch streamers would point out, myself included, I would say that I'm a brazen ass pirate. Because let's be honest, that is it's a dumb joke, but I keep making it. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
10 out of 10. It's all good. But well, friends, thank you for listening in on our spiel on the Arena Championships. We'll hopefully give you some more updates, but let us know. What do you think of the championships? Do you like the current structure? Or are there any changes maybe you'd want to see? Or is there a person you're rooting for? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, make sure you drop us a follow, subscribe to stay up to date, and get a heads up on our next listing. Ham, where can people find you, my friend?
Yeah, so I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Hamhocks42. I'm over there Monday through Friday in the mornings. I'm starting to do more stuff like in the afternoons, and including some Commander gameplay over Spell Table, which is new for my channel, but we're having fun with it. So yeah, I'd love to see you over there. And I also have my own YouTube channel where I talk about individual Magic cards for entirely too long. That's Hamhocks42 on YouTube. Well, Astros, how about you? Where else can people find you doing stuff on the internet?
Yeah, y'all can find me at Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Astralsflame. I'm doing the Arena thing. I primarily focus on Standard, but we delve a bit to Explore and a little bit of Commander, mostly on other people's channels. But I do what I can, and we doing the things. So everyone, until next time, we are your landlords.